It's the most wonderful time of the
Fuck
year.
Christmas, ain't Nick and get the deals, Nick. Some shit done popped off last Christmas, I'll never forget. I was at home Christmas Eve with this trim slut, feeding the freak of the week, roasted chin nuts. Fell asleep, heard a creak, yo, what the fuck? 'Twas the ghost of my dead homie, G up. P game notice, my situation hopeless. Once a Mac, but now I'm dead and hopeless. You don't change, you'll be in change for eternity. Tonight 3 ghosts will visit, player handle your business. What the hell is this? I must be blowed. I'm having a psycho episode, but then 9 p.m. in my closet flash. A ghost bitch, I am the ghost of Christmas past. I'm here to show you scenes that made you cold and mean, and hope it turn you back into a human being. She showed me Christmas morning way back when I caught my wife boning my best friend. 'Twas then I chose to dog 'em all. Fuck 'em doggy style and never call. The ghost of Christmas past said time for a switch. You need to serve notice, she's only one bitch. 10 p.m. another flash in the closet. I approach hesitant, the ghost of Christmas present relentless. He urged me to seek repentance or consequences may be tremendous. He showed how I floored the hoe the night before. The game in her brain like I'll be sure. After I scored, beat it some more till the kitten was sore. Got bored, told the whore, explored the door. Damn, I'm stone cold, yo, I see a little clearer. Maybe it's time I check that man in the mirror. 11 p.m. struck, this feature ain't a sleeper. A ghastly creature, enter Grim Reaper. He spoke nada, just looked in my eyes. I stared in and I saw my demise. A tombstone, a grave, and written in blood said, here lies Sir Notice, the man never loved. The psycho make a boss player piss his pants. I beg God Almighty one more chance. Midnight struck, I did the chicken noodle dance. Yes, I'm alive, free to get in woman's pants. But now with romance, Merry Christmas, I got the spirit. Ho, 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 you on the wish list. Don't dismiss this or be confused. Holiday lesson, I'm no longer Scrooged. Happy motherfucking New Year. Big guy. Well, the New Year's here, been one wild ride. Makes me wanna holler, thank God I'm alive. Pop the champagne, the clock's still running. Toe down, floor down, keep drinks coming. Keep it moving's my resolution. Spitting hot licks in the booth and straight get paid with skill executing. Bills I'm shooting, 253 proof and raise the roof and party up like fuck it, I'm drunk. Another shot, don't be a punk. At the Mo Mac the hoe you wanna thump. Hey DJ, make this motherfucker bump. What you having, madam? Sex on the beach or screaming orgasms? Want 'em in spasms, shaking a stirred or whipped in a blender? Just remember to tip the bartender. Said wait a while, honey, love it, doggy style. Let me show you something, child. Fucking with my drunken style. As we go to humping wild, pussy get to funkin'. I'll hit it till it's sore and loves me in the morning. Welcome to a new beginning, Nubian beautiful woman, brand new day to get to sinning. Man, I hope life's is forgiven. Help me God, the room is spinning. All these people bought their twins. I guess I'm seeing double. Trying hard not to stumble. If you came to party, throw your hands in the air, waving from side to side like you don't have a care. Yeah, that's what's up, serve notice is serving, friendly unhinged. Henny, purring off bourbon, drunk as hell. Spitting game to a J named Shell. Get the freaking well, don't have a clue what happened in December. Just remember to tip the bartender.
(2007). See the libation cup, the candles, the first fruits, the gifts, the reflection books. I'm saying, see if I can get some better lighting on here.
Wait, it's not working?
It's working fine. It's got to turn the light back, the brightness back up. So it's the brightness. Browns. How you doing, Mom? Got nothing to say, huh? Nothing for Kwanzaa 2007?
2008.
It's 2007 now. It ain't 2008 yet. It's a new year. Go ahead. Oh wow.
You have to. What's the meditation for the first candle?
Okay, here you hold the camera. Let's go through that. Lighting is.
Are you sure this is enough light?
No, but is this
Why don't you turn on the light in the hall?
Yeah. Is that better?
I guess.
I think. Hold on, let me see that. There's a little bit of way to brighten there because I think I turned down the light one time when I was taping. So, Kwanzaa 2007. And here you go, Mom. Why don't you take this over while I start the meditation? Meditation for day one, which is, I believe, unity. Yep. Umojo, unity. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. That is the first candle. And being that it's unity, that means it's one blood. So we'll start with a red candle for Umojo, unity. This is the first day of Kwanzaa.
Make sure that paper.
So here's a cup of libations. Shared for Kwanzaa. Along with the first fruits basket. And some of the meditations start with known as the E.G. Ogbi or the Odu Ifa. Let us not engage the world hurriedly. Let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently. That which should be treated with mature judgment, let us not deal with in a state of anger. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and this because of our eventual passing. That's the Odo Ifa. Meditate on that daily, but along with that, I'd like to look up a great man of color each day, or a great woman of color, and Nzinga, Queen Nzinga, Amazon Queen of Matamba, West Africa. Nzinga, better known as Nzinga, renowned warrior queen of Mutamba, was born about 1582 when the Portuguese were establishing trade settlements on the African coast and otherwise encroaching on native territory. When Anne grew up, she did not sit idly by watching the invaders at work. Extremely raw, she led her army of fierce women warriors, which she had assiduously trained, into action against them, and won battle after battle, but in the long run she lost, and spears were hardly a match for firearms. In 1622, her brother, the King of Angola, sent her to arrange a peace with the Portuguese viceroy at Loanga. A dwelling befitting her royal rank was prepared for her, and she and her escort were received with due honors, which pleased her. But when she entered the viceroy audience chamber, Anne, who was quite temperamental, was indignant. She noticed that while a magnificent chair of state had been arranged for the viceroy, there was merely a cushion on the floor for her. The fact that the cushion was made of gold embroidered velvet and had been put in the center of a handsome carpet did not placate her. Though she felt that she had been slighted, she did not make a scene. Instead, she gave one of her attendants a meaningful look. The woman came over, knelt down on her hands and knees, and Nzinga sat herself down on the woman's back and waited thus for the viceroy to appear. If on his arrival he thought it strange for his honored guest to be seated in this way, he politely refrained from comment and began talking business. As a matter of fact, Nzinga did not appear at all lucidious in her disadvantaged position. She acted with such spirit and dignity that the viceroy was impressed, and negotiations were terminated satisfactorily. Not given to bickering, Anne had refused outright an alliance with the Portuguese, one of the terms of which was the payment of an annual tribute to the King of Portugal. She persuaded the viceroy, and this ought to be eliminated, emphasizing that the giving up of her Portuguese prisoners were concession enough. When the audience was ended, the viceroy arose and conducted Nzinga from the room. Looking back, he saw to his astonishment that the attendant she was used as a throne had not moved an inch. When he mentioned this, Nzinga drew herself up haughtily and said, "It is not meet that the ambassadress of a great king should be served with the same seat twice. I have no further use for this woman." The viceroy was so astonished at this that he quite forgot to thank her for the unusual, if somewhat sharp-worn gift. During her stay in Luanda, Nzinga embraced Christianity. Whether she did this from her inner conviction or as a matter of policy is not known. At any rate, she was baptized and adopted European customs. Not long after her return to Angola, her brother died and she seized the throne. To simplify matters, she disposed of her nephew by strangling him, or so it is said. If this was not in the true Christian spirit, neither was a similar deed committed by her famous contemporary Elizabeth of England, who got rid of her rival Mary Stuart by having her head chopped off. Drastic methods were in the best tradition of the times. No one who knew the Portuguese ever expected permanent peace as a result of the treaty between the viceroy and Nzinga. They were tricky customers, just like all the rest of the Europeans, and when you gave them a square inch, they took a square mile. They did not like to see Nzinga on the throne because she was independent and could not be hoodwinked or bluffed into paying tribute. So deciding that it was better to have her out of the way sooner than later, they sent an army against her. But allying herself with the Dutch and the native chiefs, she fought back in a war and that dragged on for years. Her Amazons were terrible in battle, and whenever the Portuguese saw them coming, they were struck with fear. Finally, the Portuguese were victorious and offered to let her stay on the throne if she would pay annual tribute. Rather than submit to this extortion, she fled into a bush and, gathering another army, repelled the invaders for the next 18 years, refusing even to consider any overtures. With the somewhat dubious example of Christian behavior provided by the Portuguese before her, Nzinga tempestuously dropped the faith she had embraced and had those of her people who clung to Christianity killed. Time and again, the Christian missionaries among her captives tried to win her back to Christianity, but in vain. She held out as firm as a rock against their extortions, but then her sister, of whom she was very fond, died. This perhaps, and the mellowness of advancing age, she was now nearly 70, softened her heart. Acting upon a suggestion from the missionary, she again declared herself a convert and was restored to the throne by the Portuguese. To show that she was sincere, she set about reforming her people. She ordered the adoption of Christianity, abolished the sacrifice of captives and criminals, and prohibited polygamy. When this later injunction offended her subjects, she set an example herself by marrying one of her courtiers, though she was 76 at the time. She strictly observed her treaties with the Portuguese, but could not be induced even by her priest to pay tribute or recognize the overlordship of the Portuguese. But when one of her chiefs took it in his head to attack some Portuguese in 1657, she went so far as to make war against him, and when he was captured, had him decapitated and sent his head to the viceroy. During her last year, she sent an emissary to the Pope asking for more missionaries for her kingdom. When the Pope's answer came, Nzinga appeared in church amidst great pomp and pageantry and had it read publicly. There was much celebrating and a festival attending this occasion. She staged a mock battle in which her women warriors dressed in full war regalia were the star participants. Nzinga led them herself, and though she was past 80, she displayed astonishing agility and skill and was superior to many of her youthful followers. Nzinga died in 1663 at the age of 81. Her body was shown to her mourning subjects arrayed in royal robes, her hands clasping a bow and arrow. When the time for burial came, she was clothed in a capuchin habit as she had requested, with a crucifix and rosary in her hand. John Ogilvy, an Englishman who lived at that time and wrote a good deal about the native rulers of Africa, said of her, "She is a cunning and prudent virago, as much addicted to the use of arms that she hardly uses other exercise, and withal so generously valiant that she never hurt a Portuguese after quarter was given, and commanded all her slaves and soldiers alike." After her death, Angola fell completely into the power of the Portuguese, in whose possession it is still in today.
Very good.
That is the meditation of today. Unity. So, Mom, you, open your gifts. And on the door number 1 is
Wow.
a CD player radio for her own little use in the bedroom.
Wow. Thank you, son.
Open the other ones.
CDs.
Yeah, some of your personal CDs to play in the bedroom.
Oh. Another room. What is this?
Open it.
Oh, a new pipe.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. A new pipe.
Yep. And we got one more gift that still hasn't arrived yet, but there are 7 more days of Kwanzaa. So, for this first day of Unity in Kwanzaa, we are signing off. Thank you.
You didn't open your gift.
Oh yeah, I gotta open mine. This is from Kay and Karen. There you go. Hold that for me. See what I'm talking about? I can tell you already, man. Macy's. Alright? Macy's. Not online. Macy's, man. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Real though. Fat Farm. Yes, exactly what I need, man, because the last one I had has a hole in the crotch, man. Prepared. It looks like the correct size, man, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I'm a big nigga now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, man. It's alright, man. It's alright. Yeah, I can rock this. Thank you, Kay and Karen. And happy Kwanzaa to you and yours. Unity. Peace.
All right.
Thank you. Keeping Kwanzaa alive, support your African holidays, man. Pan-African. With drinking of the libations.
Yeah.
All I could take right now. I had that champagne for Christmas. Yeah, this is day 2 of Kwanzaa. Getting ready to do the Kwanzaa ceremony. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday was day 1. The first red candle burnt, and that was the day of unity. And today, well, the day of unity, Umoja, the unity, was the first candle burnt, and today is the Kujichagulia, which means self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. And we're just waiting for Mom to get here. Again, this is the second day of Kwanzaa. The gifts was open yesterday. Still one gift there for Sam Caviezel, and one gift still waiting to arrive for Mom. We still got 6 more days of Kwanzaa though. So we're waiting. Hold on. Second day of Kwanzaa, for the second time. If you saw the Khalid Muhammad on Donahue, he mentioned the Kuji Chagulia. This is the second day of Kwanzaa, which means self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Now, we're going to reflect again on the Iji Ogbi, the Odu Ifa. We reflect on this every day of Kwanzaa. Let us not engage the world hurriedly. Let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently. That which should be treated with mature judgment, let us not deal with in a state of anger. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and this because of our eventual passing. Now, today we're going to reach into a selection from the Husha, and this is a book of Egyptian, our Egyptian past, and we'll go into the declarations of virtues, and I'll read, say, 1 through 3 of them. Well, let's read the book of Febor. 1. If a beam is longer than its right measure, the excess is cut off. If the wind blows beyond its right measure, it wrecks the ships. Those who apply the right measure in all good things are not blamed. The God of just measure has created a balance in order to establish right measure on earth. He placed the heart deep in the body for the right measure of its owner. Thus, if those who are learned are not balanced, their learning is of little use, and the fool who knows not balance does not escape misfortune. Pride and arrogance are the destruction of their owner. But those who are gentle in character create their own fate. 2. The foolish child, whom a father or mother has not instructed, is like a statue of stone. It is the sons and daughters' advantage and good fortune to receive instruction and to ask for it, but no instruction can succeed if there is resentment for it. Youth who are not corrupted by base desires are not blamed, and those who control their sexual appetite, their name does not send forth an unpleasant odor. Those who are steadfast and thoughtful are chosen among the people, and those who listen to a correction protect themselves from receiving another. Surely the fault in every kind of character lies in not listening. The God of wisdom has placed a stick on earth in order to teach the fool by means of it, but he gave the wise to a sense of shame in order to avoid all punishment. Thus a youth who has respect through shame is not rejected with punishment. And those are selections from the Husha, Egyptian Initiate, written by Maulana Karinga. Kwanzaa itself was invented in 1966 by Ron Karinga, and so far we're enjoying the second day of it. And actually it's a coincidence that 1966 was also when in San Quentin prison the Black Guerrillas was formed. So we're moving back into Pan-Africanism. Self-determination is today and self-defining. So let us drink from the libation cup. And Manischewitz is the name of the drink which is kosher. Kosher meaning it's good wine and drink in Jewish per se. If something's kosher, it's good and towards God. We still recognize Christmas, but as Christ's birthday, and as such, we recognize the blood of Christ. And the self-determination.
The self-determination.
The self-determination. And that,
alright.
We're here at Holy Day number 3 of Kwanzaa. This day is called the Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. For this we'll light another candle, the red candle. This is Ujima, collective work and responsibility. And we read from the Husha, we read from Black. We'll concentrate on one of the Orishas today. And I mean, it's only fitting that we start on the, let's say the first Orisha.
The first Orisha is
Aligwa. Syncronym or identification is Saint Anthony of Padua, the Holy Infant of Ataka, and the Lonely Spirit, Anima Sola. Aligwa and all the other Orishas have many paths or aspects which are known in Santeria as avatars. As we will see in this section, Aligwa has 101 paths, of which 21 are most commonly used. In each path, the Orisha is synchronized with a different Catholic saint. Thus, there are at least 21 saints with which Aligwa has been identified. Among these are Saint Benedetto and Saint Martin's of Porus. All of the other Orishas in these various paths have also been synchronized with more than one Catholic saint. And you get into Saint Anthony of Pudawa, the different feasts, the Holy Infant of Ataka, the Lonely Spirit, and this is Aligwa as a cosmic force. He is the opener of the doors, the messenger of the gods. He is a great diviner who does not need an oracle to see the future. He owns the keys to all doors and to evil as well as to good. He seems to take pleasure in creating compromising situations and trouble between human beings. He can be equally cruel and generous. He is the unexpected, treacherous, and dangerous, and capricious like fate itself. He is the great justice wielder, and though he may seem at times a master of deceit and the bringer of misfortune, his actions are always justified because he alone knows the true meaning of justice and sees things which are hidden from humanity as well as from the other Orishas. In other words, Aligwa can be equally identified with both fate and justice. It is said of his Orishas that he's the lowest and the highest, a prince and a pauper, who is equally at ease in a palace and a garbage dump where he often feasts. With Oya, he rules over the 4 winds. He is a great healer and master magician. His spells and amulets are all powerful and impossible to destroy. And also, let's not forget the Iji Ogbi, which we do every day of Kwanzaa, reflect on the Odu Ifa, which is, let us not engage the will hurriedly, let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently, that which should be treated with mature judgment. Let us not deal with in a state of anger. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and this because of our eventual passing.
Okay, so the cup of libation.
The cup of libation. And we have opened the first fruits. Third day of Kwanzaa. To collective work.
The collective work.
Okay.
Don't shoot me like a
Didn't have no batteries in it. What's up? What's up? Okay, we're at day number 4. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. To build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Again, we reflect on the Ija Ogbi, the Odu Ifa. Let us not engage the world hurriedly. Let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently, that which should be treated with mature judgment. Let us not deal with in a state of anger. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and this because of our eventual passing. So we're going to light the green candle. And again, this is for Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Going into business for ourselves, economics for ourselves. And let's see. We'll reflect on 2 people. One is saint, and Timothy 2, a black saint. Armourer, 26th Patriarch of Alexandria, 548 and 80 AD. Though I was a monophysite, I was elected Patriarch after Dionysius. I was deported to Gangra Island, and after a second time elsewhere, Emperor Zeno restored me to the position. Coptic calendar. And let's try Tipasius.
Turn that light down a bit for me. Turn it down. It's reflecting.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Tipasius, I was a martyred veteran Roman soldier in Africa. I was retired in the desert performing works of mercy. I was recalled in a military campaign fighting the Bourentanian area of Sitifis. I refused to sacrifice to the gods, and at Tageva, Africa was beheaded. Shield, 11 January 304 AD. They used pieces of my Roman shield on those tormented by demon possession. See, so they are black saints, you know. This is a book, Black Saint Mystics and Holy Folks, if you want to check that out. To find out the black saints and martyrs that's out there. I want to give another reflection on the great men and women of color. I want to find a good one here. And, like today is economics or something. Let's see. Well, yeah, we might have to go with someone who's known, because that's who I see first. We'll go with Glowy Pasha. Glowy Pasha, the Black Panther of Morocco. Also has a picture of him, if you could zoom in on that. It's the Black Panther of Morocco. Today's reflection, we reflect on him. Hajj Tami el Glowy, Pasha of Marrakesh and Lord of the Atlas, was head of a Berber clan that has been in power in Morocco for more than 1,000 years. Until his death on January 23, 1956, the Pasha of Marrakesh, who was the ruler of southern Marrakesh, was called many high-sounding names, and he literally deserved most of them. Among his other titles were Lord of the Atlas, the Black Sultan, and the Gazelle of the Sus being the rich fertile valley below Marrakesh over which he provided. The Pasha, who was the most powerful figure in Morocco during his lifetime, possessed the highest declaration and orders bestowed by the French government, which considered him a valuable ally. He wore the Croix de Guerre, the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor, and the Médaille Militaire, a decoration reserved for generals. On his visit to France, he received honors equal to that of a royal visitor. For instance, during the International Colonial Expedition of 1931, he led the Grand March of the Ball with Miss Universe. The prince began life humbly. His father was a salt merchant and his mother a Negro slave. Ability and force of character brought him to the fore. V.C. Scott O'Connor, an English writer who was a guest in his palace, gives a vivid and intimate picture of him. Glowy sits there in his place, unlike any one that one has ever known, with his large liquid eyes in their deep recesses, small aquiline nose, narrow chin, high cheekbones, a thin pointed beard, lips a little thick, delicate fingers and hands, a small soft wrist, traces of his Negro blood clearly written in the shadows under his eyes and in the dark color of his skin. He has somewhat the air of a scholar, even if his lips did not forbid it, of an ascetic. He is gentle in his manner, has a low musical voice, laughs now and then in a subdued way, tells a good story, and takes his share in the talk. His manner has not the grand air of the Arab, the stately reserve of the true Oriental, or the bluff style of an old warrior or Rajput chief. No, this man is altogether exceptional. His military qualities and order in battle, for in which he is known throughout the Atlas, are concealed behind a pensive and intellectual brow. The stern and cruel temper of a Berber chieftain, he must have sent many a man, enemy, rival, friends to his death, behind an air that is almost gentle and deprecatory. The immense power he wields and is possessed of, he has never less than 12,000 men under arms in the Atlas. Make no sign of their existence here. His iron hand is veiled under the glove of hospitality. The Pasha, for all his frail physique, is a man of immense energy. He rides far and fast and exults in battle, yet he glides over the marble floor of his palace to wait with a fine courtesy upon his guests, offering to one a more convenient chair, to another a light for his chariot. The French call him La Panthère Noire. A Florentine of the Renaissance might have recognized in him a man and a brother. Rome in her later hours might have found for him a distinguished place. Like many Orientals, he is a collector of exquisite books and many illuminated pages. The wreck of old Moorish libraries have passed through his hands. Stories by the hundreds circulate about him. He has played the great game of the French in Morocco and has risen through the vicissitudes of the time to power. Some will tell you that though the head of the tribe of Glowy, his father once sold salt for a living and was no one at all, that his mother was a Negro slave. Others that his methods of finance combine the dark practices of the Middle Ages with those that are most advanced in our present days of grace. In London, Paris, he has brokers who attend to his orders in the stock exchange. At the capital of the Protectorate, he owns a sumptuous hotel for the accommodation of travelers from Europe and the United States. But at Marrakech and in the recesses of the Atlas, he turns the screw of power in the ways that are better understood in the East. The profiteer feels the weight of the courtly hand. He is invited to dinner with the Pasha. He is received
How much more?
with distinction. He is embraced by my lord. Course after course of the most tastily cooked food passes before him and is well. Then the Pasha gravely intimates, confides to his friend the depletion of his fortunes, the expenses to which he put on behalf of the state, the necessity for a loan. He whispers a sum that must sound formidable in Hassanis. The guest is heartbroken over the Pasha's misfortunes, for he also has suffered from the same blow of fate. They part company, but the next day or the next, mules carrying the appointed burden enter the court of the Pasha's palace. This loan has no limit of time. It is soon forgotten. But sometimes all is not well. Then misfortune begins to overtake our profiteer. He retires for solace to his country house or embarks upon a journey. But travel in Morocco has still its dangers, and one day there comes the sad news that he is dead. In the mountains the Pasha methods are less ceremonious. At Tello, holding a great pass across the Atlas, is the castle of the Glaudi, a grandiose and imposing place full of dungeons, where people live forever forgotten or die unknown to the world, and no man can cross that snow-driven pass that links the oasis of the Sahara with the Western Ocean without the knowledge and sanction of the Lord. Even the great Sultan, Mulai el-Hassan, approached it with anxiety. A crowd of attendants now advanced like a flight of birds, with a brass bowl and flagons of water and balls of transparent soap. The towels of perfume, then a low round table of soft wood is passed in our midst, and the good Moorish bread is distributed from a basket. Soup of an excellent quality follows in little bowls, and after it a succession of dishes. The pastella, a vast circulatory pastry, delicately flavored, containing with it folds, its millefully morsels of meat and poultry, of eggs and pistachios, and sprinkled over with a faint powder of sugar and cinnamon. The pastella comes from Spain, pastella they call it here, and upon each such a dish might Abdur-Rahman have feasted in Cordova in the days of his prime. The triumphs of the Pasha's woman is followed by wild duck stuffed tightly with the delicate perfumed and flavored rice, and so admirably cooked that though all the bones of the duck have been removed, they retain their original form. Chickens followed, cooked in diverse ways, with olives and celeries and strips of lemon, and after these joints of mutton baked crisp, and all in their turn so good and tender, and fingers suffice to pull them to pieces. This is one of the merits of Moorish cookery. The traditional conchos imported by the Barbary pirates from Provence, and now become the common dish of every Moorish home, makes way for a caramel, a complement to the bastador. Basically, you get the idea of this man. He was a baller and a warrior, and we'll stop there with him. But that just brings us to Ujama, which is to build and maintain our own stores, our own shops, and other business, and to profit from them together. So now, for the fourth day of Kwanzaa, we go to the cup of libation. So yes, we did have princes. I mean, some that just passed in 1956, you know. We could build our own shops. This green candle is for money. Happy Kwanzaa. Hey again, it is the fifth day of Kwanzaa. The first day was Umoja, unity. The second day was the Kujichagulia, self-determination. The third day was Ujima, collective work and responsibility. The fourth day, yesterday, was Ujama, cooperative economics. Today is Nia, purpose. To make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And we've been doing a lot of cleaning today, and you know, keeping way of the true of the Kwanzaa, getting ready, first fruits of the new year, getting everything organized because we're getting out of this situation this year. So yesterday was a green candle, so for Nia, purpose, it's going to be red. Fire, blood-driven, love, purpose. And once again, we reflect on the meditation, the Iji Ogbi, the Odu Ifa. Let us not engage the world hurriedly. Let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently. That which should be treated with mature judgment, let us not deal with in a state of anger. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and this because of our eventual passing. And, we're going to go back to the Orishas, and honor our dead ancestors by honoring Ogun. His synchronism and identification is with St. Peter. St. Peter is Ogun's most popular synchronym, but as in the case of Eligwa, he has many aspects and has been identified with several saints. Among them are St. Paul and St. John the Baptist and St. James. In Rio, he has been identified with St. George. So yeah, St. Peter. Ogun as a cosmic force. Ogun represents work and all human effort. He is also a symbol of violence, of brute force, of raw energy. He is one of the older Orishas, brother to Eligwa, Ashoshi, and Shango, with whom he has had many battles. He is the divine ironworker who toils eternally without rest. He lives in the woods which he owns. Ogun's representation. In Santeria, this Orisha is envisioned as a black man, handsome and muscular, dressed in a green and black cassock, and a skirt of palm fronds. He wears a large straw hat and carries a machete by his side. He is always accompanied by a black dog. He is violent and astute, dangerous and cagey. His bad temper is legendary, but he is also honest and hard-working. He is represented by 7 work implements: a rake, a spade, a pick, a chisel, a hammer, a knife, an anvil, which are kept inside a black cauldron. In the cauldron are also placed 3 railway spikes, a black stone, a piece of chain, and 3 horseshoes. He represents work and all minerals and metals, especially iron. So I think that's a good one for today's Nia, the 5th day. And we'll also have a little advice from this little book, Black Folk Wit and Wisdom, which is on the matter of, let's say gratitude should be our lessons. Be grateful for Kwanzaa because thanks cost nothing. The one being carried does not realize how far away the town is. If something that was going to chop off your head only knocked off your cap, you should be grateful. And justice. The person who has been a slave from birth does not value rebellion. The tyrant is only the slave turned inside out. In a court of Faust, the cockroach never wins his case. He who installs a king never rules with him. The soldier's blood, the general's name. War ends nothing. Happy Kwanzaa, the 5th day. And now we drink from the libation cup. To Nia, which is purpose. Yes, purpose. Nia. Happy Kwanzaa.
Look kind of fuzzy.
It's a little, it's fuzzy. Not a lot of light there. Are you sure that's enough light?
Yeah, I can see it.
That's not enough light. Feel better?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see.
Not on me.
It just kind of fuzzy. Okay. Damn, you act like you a vampire in this little spotlight or something. Going on me.
It's taping, you know.
Alright, yeah, today is the 6th day of Kwanzaa, called the Kumba, which stands for creativity. To do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. We have to do as much as we can for ourselves, people. And today is the Kumba, creativity. We light the green candle. This is the 6th day of Kwanzaa. Again, as always, we speak of the, we reflect on the Iji Ogbi, or the Odu Ifa. Let us not engage the world hurriedly. Let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently, that which should be treated with mature judgment. Let us not deal with in a state of anger. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and that's because of our eventual passing. And we'll read from these two. A little bit of black folk wisdom, wit and wisdom. And we'll read from Common Sense. Eggs have no business dancing with stones. As useless as a blind man turning around to look. Cows have no business in horseplay. No one tests the depths of a river with both feet. It takes a heap of licks to strike a nail in the dark. You cannot shave a man's head in his absence. And check. We'll start with today's meditation. A person we reflect on, Hannibal of Carthage. You know, a lot of people thought he was white, and they portray him as white. He was a conqueror who went up against Rome a lot of time, but Carthage is in Africa, North Africa. And Hannibal is actually black. The father of military strategy. He was the one who used the elephants to help him conquer. Anyway, here we go. Hannibal has the reputation of being the greatest military leader and strategist of all time. Napoleon, after selecting the 7 supreme military geniuses of the world, ranked him as the first in daring. And this Hannibal, he said, the most audacious of all, the most astonishing perhaps, so bold, so pure, so sure, so great in everything, who at 26 conceived what is hardly conceivable, executed what one may truly call the impossible. Napoleon had also crossed the Alps, but by an easier route, and under much more favorable circumstances. Hannibal was born in 247 BC when Carthage, then the greatest maritime power, was beginning to decline. The Carthaginians were the descendants of the Phoenicians, a Negroid people who were great merchants. They traded with India, the people of the Mediterranean, and the Sicilies Isles. Carthage was founded by them as a central base for this commerce. The Phoenicians, like most commercial people, were not warriors. The immense wealth and their luxurious manner of living had rendered them still softer. It was inevitable that they should inspire plunder in the heart of their powerful neighbor Rome, which was less than 100 miles across the Mediterranean. Rome, then in the prime of her youth, had concentrated on military power. Her fleet also dominated the Mediterranean. Now reaching out for the world supremacy, she demanded Sicily from Carthage as an appetizer. When Carthage refused, the First Punic War followed, in which Carthage lost Corsica and Sardinia to Rome. Carthage forgot her defeat and continued her commerce, but there was one citizen to whom it was as gall, Hamilcar Barca, the lightning. Determined on revenge, he aroused his lethargic fellow citizens with his oratory and raised a large force. Attacking the Romans, he won a series of brilliant victories on land and sea. Then he decided to extend Carthaginian power into Spain. About to leave, he sacrificed to the gods. Among those standing at the altar was his son Hannibal, who though only 9 years old had the spirit of a conqueror. For years past, he had been imitating in plays the battle in which his fathers had slain the Romans. Now he thought himself old enough to go to war. Throwing his arms about his father's neck, he begged to be taken along. Hamilcar yielded, and Hannibal, kneeling before his father, pledged undying hate to the Romans. 17 years later, Hannibal succeeded to supreme command of the peninsula. He defeated all the tribes until only one remained, the Saguntum. The latter were allies of Rome, and to attack them meant war with her. But Hannibal, true to his vow, did not hesitate, and after an 8-month siege and a bloody battle, defeated them. Rome immediately sent her ablest general and foremost counselor, Fabius the Great, to Carthage to demand the withdrawal of Hannibal. The Carthaginians, who had been receiving loads of plundered treasure from Spain, refused, and the Second Punic War began. Rome felt sure of victory. She was impregnable. Her navy, stronger than that of Carthage, would prevent a landing anywhere on the Italian coast. As for the northern approaches, they were guarded by the frozen fortress of the Alps, the crossing of which with an army had long been pronounced impossible. When the war opened, Hannibal, who was in the northeast of Spain, decided to attack the Romans' outposts in Gaul and march toward the Pyrenees. He had 80,000 infantry, 12,000 cavalry, and 40 elephants. When he neared France, Hannibal took leave of his wife, a Spanish princess, and his son. When some of his men took fright at the prospect of the unknown journey, Hannibal sent back 10,000 of them. Then he marched on, defeating the tribe of white savages who fled in terror at the sight of his dusky legion and his elephants. Crossing the Pyrenees, he marched eastward until he reached the river Rhone at what is now Avignon, France. The Rhone at this point is a deep, swift stream. The problem of crossing was heightened by the masses of the foe on the opposite bank. With the craftiness of a born general, Hannibal laid his plans. Calling one of his most trusted aides, Hanno, he gave him 10,000 men and bade him cross the river several miles further up. When this was done, he was to make it known by sending up a column of smoke. Hannibal in the meantime had his rafts prepared, and when he saw Hanno's signal, he gave the order to cross. At that, the yelling barbarians on the opposite bank pressed forward to repel him, but Hanno attacked them in the rear, throwing them into such confusion that Hannibal crossed over and won an easy victory. We'll stop there, but that shows the creativity and the strategic mind of Hannibal. This book is called World's Great Men of Color. And Hannibal was in fact black, just like they paint Jesus black, and all great men that had melanin in their skin have been whitewashed. We have to find them and claim them as our own. These are our ancestors. Again, today's creativity, the Kumba. Now we'll drink from the cup of libation. Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Again, this is the 6th day of Kwanzaa, and it's also New Year's Eve. So we have one more day of Kwanzaa to go, which will be on New Year's, and that will be the black candle, and it'll be a very holy day tomorrow. Hello? This is the 7th and last day of Kwanzaa, a very holy day. This is the last candle, the black candle. It stands for Imani, faith, to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. So these principles correspond to Karinga's notion that the sevenfold path of blackness is think black, talk black, act black, create black, buy black, vote black, and live black. Imani. And for our reflection, go to the African American Bible this time. Open the Old Testament. Something.
Well, there's faith.
Yeah, it is about faith, but
How about the book of Proverbs? No? That's more wisdom, huh?
I guess we can do some Proverbs. Solomon, son of David. The proverb of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. And since it's wisdom I'm asking for today, this is probably the best. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity, to give subtly to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. To understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. For they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chain about thy neck. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privately for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and make haste to shed blood. This could be spoken against blacks joining the military in service for George Bush or America. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, and they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privately for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the opening of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you, because I have called and ye refused. I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and with none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearken unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. And for the last day of Kwanzaa, as we did every day of Kwanzaa, we reflect on the Iji Ogbi, the Odu Ifa, Let us not engage the world hurriedly. Let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently. That which should be treated with mature judgment, let us not deal with in a state of anger. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, 2008, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and this because of our eventual passing. Amen.
Amen.
And the libation cup. To the beginning of a new year. New challenges. And prosperity for our people, for we are a prosperous people. Thank you, Lord. Happy Kwanzaa. This has been a beautiful Kwanzaa. Our first Kwanzaa. And with God's help, next Kwanzaa will be even grander and bigger.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in.
One, two, 1, 2. This is Dominic Amiri for We the Students Television Edutainment. We're here today. We got a special guest, one Miss Anastasia the Phoenix Armourer, who's here to talk to her about the new book she wrote called The Obia Woman. Hello, Anastasia Armourer. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your creative background and your new book, The Obia Woman.
Well, from a child, I've been very creative. I used to draw on any blank paper that I find, and I was always singing. I would be singing in choirs and stuff like that, you know, from the time I was a child. And as I grew up, my family saw the things that I was doing on paper, and they started buying me paints so that I could paint pictures.
Right.
And I have done that all my life.
So, the Obia Woman has some beautiful artwork in the book. What is the story behind the pictures?
Well, they are paintings of the Orishas. I paint the pictures with automatic drawings. That means my hand just do the work more than I do. And, you know, I find that beautiful paintings come out of doing that.
That's right. Through the spirit, huh?
Yes.
One of my favorite parts of the books is Chapter 3, The Fish Lady, Matilda's story. I hear there's a funny source of inspiration for this story. Can you tell me more about it?
Yes, well, I have been listening to Matilda's song by Harry Belafonte all my life, and it just occurred to me one day, what if it was her money that she took back from him? And the story developed from there about her making the money as a fishwoman and him taking it, and finally she getting the courage to take back her money, to take back her life, actually.
What was some of the culture like growing up in Trinidad, and how did this inspire the story of Mother Dora, the Obia Woman, in your book?
Well, my life was around Obia women, my grandmother and my aunt. And I learned a lot from them on how to do Obia. I learned about the plants and what they do. And one of my favorite plants is the St. John bush. It's a cleansing plant, and it turns blood red when you boil it. So that was one of my favorite that I learned from my aunt.
Okay. Well, back to the beautiful illustrations in the book. You say that most of the pictures are portraits of African gods or orishas. What inspired you to paint these portraits, and which one of them are your personal favorites, and why?
Well, Elegua is my favorite.
That's on the book's cover, right?
Yes. And Elegua opened the doors for all the other orishas to come through. And he was first and foremost. I love him. He works for me in many ways. And, he was my inspiration. I got it from an African mask that I saw. When I saw the mask, I thought, that is a Elegua. And I painted it just as I saw it, but with all the markings on it that shows that it's a Elegua.
Right. I know that in the days of chattel slavery, it was illegal for the black slaves to worship their deities freely, often under the threat of death. These slaves, they found clever ways to secretly worship or practice their original religion through synchronizing these deities with the white saints of Christianity and doing their worship and their rituals under radar. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, they found that if they pray to the white saints, their masters wouldn't beat them. They would think that they were Christians.
They're synchronizing it.
Yes. And Elegua was placed in St. Anthony. And Shango was Santa Barbara. And on and on.
Right.
Yes, and they did that because no one wants to be beaten.
Yeah.
But they still wanted to worship their ancestors.
Yeah. Beaten or killed, really.
Yes.
Why do you think so many of our people fear their own original religions and culture, whether that be Obia, Santeria, Voodoo, Hoodoo, etc.? Most of our people try our best to distance ourselves from these ancient beliefs many decades after chattel slavery that has to do with, pre-colonial Africa or wherever. Why is that? Why do we distance ourselves from these ancient cultures?
Well, they were taught that these religions were of the devil. They were taught that they were evil. And it's going to take some time to convince them that this is their religion. These are their gods. This is what we were before the white man. And I think in time they will come to see that these religions are not of the devil.
Okay, well, back to the book. The main protagonist is Dora Van Hart, Mother Dora. Who is the Obia woman? How close is Mother Dora's fictional story close to the reality of the spiritual Obia world?
Well, Mother Dora embodies what an Obia woman is. I have seen so many details of Obia women that are so wrong. They're nowhere near the truth. And Mother Dora is my way of showing what a real Obia woman is.
Okay, that's great. So what's next, and what can we expect from Anastasia Armourer after the Obia Woman book? Is this a series? Are you going to continue to paint? What comes next after this book, The Obia Woman?
Obia Woman 2 comes next. And yes, it is a series, and I will have paintings. I'm planning on doing more paintings for that book. Only time will tell as far as the paintings, because they do take a lot of time.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for your time, Miss Anastasia Armourer. And if you want to pick up her book, The Obia Woman, you could get it at Amazon.com. The Obia Woman by Anastasia Armourer. Thank you for your time. This has been Dominic Fortune for What's We the Student Television. Be good. Be blessed. Peace.
I can remember when we had it all. You and I, you and I. Yeah. That we've been here before, the candlelight and you walking softly through my door. Come on in my sleep. How have you been? You're so nice. But tonight we're gonna be more than just friends. I recall the days and ways of love we made. I still feel the heat when we shared each other. Don't you feel the magic, the mysteries in the air? Let's go down to Lover's Lane with the love we share. Reminisce on the love. Reminisce on the love. I can see you standing there alone, like an angel, trying to find his way home. I don't remember how we fell apart. Here we are again. Come on, fly into my heart. I recall the days and ways of love we made. I still feel the heat when we share each other. Don't you feel the magic, the mysteries in the air? Let's go down to Lover's Lane with the love we share. Reminisce on the love. Make the time tonight, feeling so right. Reminisce on the love we had. Make the time tonight, make the time tonight. The feeling so right. Reminisce on the love we had. Make the time tonight. Time tonight, feeling is so right. Reminisce on the love we had. Make the time tonight. Make the time tonight. Feeling is so right. Reminisce on the love we had. Make the time tonight. Ooh, baby. Reminisce. I know we've been here before. Some candlelight and you walking softly through my door. all today. I didn't want to hear, but I knew that it would come. An old true friend of ours was talking on the phone. She said you found someone. And I thought of all the bad luck and all the struggles we went through. How I lost me and you lost you. What are all these voices outside love's open door? Make us throw off our contentment and beg for something more. I've been learning to live without you now, but I miss you sometimes. The more I know, the less I understand. And all the things I thought I knew, I'm learning them again. I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak and my thoughts seem to scatter. But I think it's about forgiveness, forgiveness. Even if you don't love me anymore. These times are so uncertain. There's a yearning undefined, and people filled with rage. We all need a little tenderness. How can love survive in such a graceless age? And the trust and self-assurance that lead to happiness are the very things we kill, I guess. Pride and competition cannot fill these empty arms. In the world they put between us, you know it doesn't keep us warm. I've been trying to live without you now, but I miss you, baby. The more I know, the less I understand. And all the things I thought I'd figured out, I have to learn again. I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak and my heart is so shattered. But I think it's about forgiveness, forgiveness. Even if you don't love me anymore. All the people in your life who've come and gone, they let you down. You know they hurt your pride. Gotta put it all behind you, 'cause life goes on. You keep carrying anger, it'll eat you up inside. I want it happily ever after. My heart is so shattered, but I know it's about forgiveness, forgiveness. Even if you don't love me, I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, because the flesh gets weak and the ashes will scatter. So I'm thinking about forgiveness, forgiveness. Even if you don't love me anymore. Even if you don't love me anymore.
Serve notice in the House for the year 2019. Serve notice, also known as George Rampage Hoyt Jr. This one's a poem to my old man, George McAllister Hoyt Sr. I call this one Father Time. From me to you, Pop. Peep game. What is a father? Is he the guy you buy a tie once a year to appear sincere? Is he the man you feared as an adolescent? He who had you stressing. If you broke rules, he had to threaten. Yeah, his belt was felt, there was licks dealt, lashes on hands and legs left thick welts. If you don't hear, you gon' feel was his catchphrase, and that's how it was if you misbehaved. I hated them days, that's for sure. Didn't want to do my chores, but if I sucked my teeth, it was holy war. Cussing under your breath was a sure out. The man of the house would give you something to bitch about. So many kids without fathers these days, raised on the street like crime pays. Fast forward to prison, 50-cent wage, or go from corner to corner, early grave. So many living in prison with bad raps, singing Dear Mama, but where they dads at? I don't bust caps, I just bust mad raps. I had father time, you wish you had that. That's what's up. Serve notice in the House for the year 2019 this Father's Day. To my old man, George McAllister Hoyt Sr., the greatest dad in the world. Love you, Pops. Be blessed.
Welcome back to the Black Robe Podcast. It's your girl, Anjanae Slaughter, here with my lovely co-host, Miss Carol Mitchell. So good to see you, Carol. How are you?
You too. Happy Holy Days.
Happy Holy Days? What is that?
That's what I say. Instead of holidays, I say Happy Holy Days. You know, whatever holy days you celebrate, I hope they're happy and you're not killing nobody, your relatives, and carrying on.
I love that. Another saying from Auntie Carol.
Yeah, because, you know, people have all sorts of faith traditions and beliefs. And we're going to talk a little bit tonight about some faith traditions and beliefs that might not be widely known about. So we're just going to say happy holy days, however you celebrate them.
Sounds good to me. Well, I'm really excited for today's podcast, and I hope all of you guys watching at home are super excited to hear what we have in store. It's been a while since we had a Crystal Stair story, so I don't know if that's why I'm so excited or if it's because of the topic, like you just mentioned. Something slightly unfamiliar to a lot of people, right? And maybe a little controversial at the same time. So, Carol, if you're down, let's just jump right in and bring on our guest. Is that okay?
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Mr. George Hoyt, are you there? Hi, George. I think you might be on mute, so go ahead and unmute yourself if you can.
Hello? Hello.
Perfect. Awesome. We can hear you, George. Thank you so much.
Hey.
Welcome to the Black Robe Podcast. We have
Thank
viewers.
you.
Thank you. We have viewers listening right now. So let's get started and just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Me, I'm from, I was born here. My mother's from Trinidad. My mother's name is Anastasia Armourer. My mom came to America in like 1972. She was student body president at TCC in 1978, known as the Duchess. She started the African clothing line when I was in high school called African Odyssey. She was a singer. She made two records, one called Weep Atlanta off of the lynchings that was going on at the time in the early 80s in Atlanta, and All I Need Is You, a country song that she does. She was also a sculptor, an author, a painter. And she had me. I was born here in Tacoma. I'm 47 years old now. Basically all my skills as far as talents and music derived from my talented, creative mother. That's about the long and short of me.
Yeah, she was quite the, I would say she was an amazingly artistic talent, maybe not
Oh, yes.
as widely known as she deserved to be. Her work certainly was at the caliber of a much more well-known artist.
Yeah, she was way before her time, not only with her talents and her creativity, but the topic she basically chose with her. She was proud of her heritage, but she really loved God. I mean, I don't know anybody today that loved the Lord as much as my mother, but at the same time, she was proud of her heritage. Mm-hmm. And so she hung on to that, her Orishas, her spirituality. She was a master herbalist. She held on to her heritage and her culture and her faith. So and she got a lot of flack for that from some places. You know, some people didn't understand that. Some people didn't understand her. But I mean, I think she was a very strong woman. She was a very strong woman, and she was very much ahead of her time. And I believe, she may not had been appreciated in her time, but I mean, as time moves forward, I think more and more people is going to come around and see it for the artistic talent that she actually is and was.
What is an Obeah woman? That's the name of her book, and it's full of her illustrations. So what would Anastasia tell us about the Obeah woman?
Well, I mean, if I go by the story Mother Dora in her book, the Obeah woman was basically the woman that she was like the second mother to everybody in the community, particularly in Trinidad, like the village situation it is. If you had a problem, you went and go see the Obeah woman. Whether it was something to be fixed herbally, fixed psychically, fixed spiritually, or just some good old advice. She was basically your second mother, that someone you could that would listen to you, ear for a shoulder for you to cry on. She was basically the mother of the community. And that's where my mother got the character Mother Dora in her book, Obeah Woman, as far as, basically she's going around helping most of the people in the community. The story gets more complex than that, of course, but that's the gist of the Obeah Woman. She was basically the woman that you'd come to whenever you had a problem that, couldn't be solved.
Yeah, there's an element of Toni Morrison's Beloved and Alice Walker and Mama Day, all of those characters from these other prolific African-American women writers. Obeah Woman is right in there with Mama Day and Beloved, my opinion, having read all those books.
Yeah.
We're gonna buy, the IBJ is going to buy some copies of your mother's book. It is available on Amazon. And we're going to make those available throughout the holy days for people who, maybe for the first 25 people that send us a message on our Facebook page, we'll send you a copy of the book. How's that sound?
That would be great, especially during this Kwanzaa season. That's what's up. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you for continuing to tell your mother's story, even after life, right? I mean, this is legacy. This is something that, right? I mean, this is why for me in my own personal life, right, I want to make impact on individuals so that someone maybe that loves me, maybe my children, or I don't have any kids now, but in the future, right, will share my story like you are. What's your hope, George, with continuing to share your mother's story?
Well, basically the thing that she hopes for, and it's the introduction of the Orishas, particularly to our people. And my mother kind of believed she kind of believed that there was a definite miseducation when it came to who we are and who these Orishas are. And I mean, most of our people shunned away from this type. They'd see our paintings and be scared of it, just off the basis of, okay, they're black spiritual beings, and what is this? And this is kind of weird, and maybe this is some kind of thing to do with hell or whatever. It's been so demonized, and that characteristic that of our culture that's been missing from our people is something she believed needed to be restored. And I think later on in life, somewhere she will be known basically as somebody who actually did a good thing by restoring and making these Orishas known to the public.
Now, George, you were kind enough to allow me to come to your home and see the incredible work that your mother, at least part of it, that she accumulated over time. And I had the privilege of picking my two favorite pieces, which are now prominently displayed in my office upstairs. And I love them. I love them.
Great. Yes.
Let's talk about, well, I'm glad that you felt, led by spirit to share those and to gift those. But let's talk about the Orishas. What is an Orisha? And then let's talk about one of the Orishas that I brought home with me, Yemaya. Okay. So tell people a little bit about that, and why is it so much of a controversy for a person who is a Christian to also then still have the Orishas as prominent in their world?
Well, okay, I must let you know that my knowledge is nowhere on the level that my mother was, but I will do my best to try to live up to what she did in her work as far as what I learned from her. Now, the Orishas are like spiritual forces that were brought forth first by the first Orisha, Eligwa. And he's the opener of the crossroads where all the Orishas come through from between the spiritual realm and the physical world. Your Orisha, Yemaya, is the Orisha of the ocean and motherhood. A lot of people kind of shy away from the whole idea of the actual Orishas because, I mean, for quite frankly, all our time in America, it's been beaten out of us. It was basically vilified. It's vilified in all kinds of propaganda, society as backwoods, voodoo, zombie, this and all this. And a lot of people are just quite frankly scared of something that's naturally them. And that's kind of necessary that the world kind of preys upon that kind of, what would I call it? I don't want to say a weakness, but it's a condition right now that a lot of people kind of like to see our people in because they're easily more able to take advantage of us if we don't know exactly who and what we are.
Well, I can recall in my studies of world religion that, practices, faiths, belief systems like Vodun and Santeria and the Orishas, for example, when the Catholic priests, missionaries went to some of these West African and South American nations, they attached patron saints, Saint Martin, for example, to an Orisha. And that's how they were able to transition the belief system in, more animism belief systems into Catholicism. That's how they were able to integrate it because they
synchronized it. They synchronized it, and it also keeps the slaves safe at the same token while doing this. Because if they prayed to Santa Barbara, and it looked like it's Santa Barbara, and they're actually praying to Shango, you know, the slave master wouldn't know that they're actually worshiping Shango or worshiping Oligwa, worshiping Ogun and all this by basically hiding them in the saints or synchronizing them with the saints at the same time. So yeah, they were free to worship in that way, shape, or form. If you look at the picture called the Seven African Powers, which is one of the first things I looked up when the internet first came out, I was wondering, okay, well, what do African gods look like? And the Seven African Powers came up, and it was basically these seven saints, white saints, European saints around Christ or whatever, as the Seven African Powers. But they're actually the Orishas, Ogun, Oligwa, Shango, and that's actually represented except by those particular European saints, which it was safe at the time to worship safely at that time.
Well, and African people are not a monolith. And there were belief systems that pre-existed the coming of missionaries. Before Christianity, before Islam, there was a set of beliefs and practices that sustained West African people. And there are remnants of those still practiced.
Some people feel threatened, though, especially with our history kinds of panic certain people when it comes to who we are and what we have achieved. There's a reason you could possibly go through a whole college career and never hear of the Moors of Spain. You feel me? There's a reason why, you know, most of the times these things like the Orishas are never brought up either in school or even any type of churches or any type of where like that. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason to keep these things hidden from the status quo in the public at this time. You feel me? So I believe my mother was very groundbreaking in creating these things in her books and her portraits.
I would agree, George. And, you know, if we look back at history, we know that this country assimilated people. We can look back at how they, you know, the terrible thing that they did to the Native Americans, making them cut their hair and stop speaking their own native language, right? You know, they did the same to us in slavery, right? I mean, we could not even, we couldn't even learn how to read and write, right? That was illegal in order to, so how are we going to, and of course, sharing any stories. And this is we even remembered them when we made it through the traumatic transatlantic, you know, travel, the trip that we endured, right? I mean, if we didn't jump off coming over, I mean, there's so many reasons to defend or explain the reason why a lot of people, especially a lot of African American people, do not know about this, you know, African spirituality, right? It was really what it is. But that doesn't mean that it's, you know, not real. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have value, it doesn't have power. It is our culture, right? Going back to history, if we think about the Haitian Revolution and why they were looked at as so powerful was because they used their spirit, and they, you know, broke the shackles. I mean, that's why they were so there's a lot of reasons to believe, or reasons why, you know, some supremacist colonizer wouldn't want this valuable information to make it all the way, not only to the States, but to Seattle. Can you imagine? I mean, migration patterns, the black people that live in Seattle, okay, they're not getting the same richness and culture as the black people that are in Atlanta, the same black people that are, you know, in New Orleans, okay? The Carolinas, right? We're not getting that. So, George, again, thank you for bringing this to our platform today, to continue to share this story, because it is our culture. And if we think about religion, every religion is based in culture. It's based in someone's culture, right? We look at Hindu religion, right? We look at Buddhism. It's based in Chinese culture, right? We look at, Muslim, right? Islam, right? It's all based in culture. Why is it that black people don't have a religion? Or do we just don't know about it?
We do and don't know about it. But and it's good that you brought up the Haitian Revolution, because my mother would call that an example of true spiritual warfare using the Orishas or the Loas. And in the book, The Obia Woman, she wrote, there's an actual ritual that kind of mimics the one Bookman supposedly did at the beginning of the ritual, sacrifice of a black pig to the god of war Ogun, that takes place, that she actually put in the ritual in the book before a battle Mother Endor does, going up against the demon Samuel the Black, somewhere in the book. So yeah, check that part out. You might find it interesting.
I plan to.
George, this is a rich, just the conversation we've had here tonight, that just is the tip of the iceberg of what people will find in your mother's book, Obia Woman. It's on Amazon. Yes. IBJ is going to buy 25 copies, and the first 25 people that send us a message on our Facebook page asking for a copy, you find a way to direct message us. I think you can. We'll figure it out so that we can get your address to send it to you. But we're going to order some copies of the book. We want to make sure also, George, that people know where they can find more information about your mom's work. We found some interesting interviews that you did with her before she passed away on YouTube.
Yes. They're on my YouTube channel. Serve notice at youtube.com. You can find me interviewing my mother, Anastasia Amore, the Obia Woman. She could also find my mother's music, her song Weep Atlanta, and her song All I Need Is You, and the songs we've done together, me and my mother, Blood Oath, honoring Michelle Bucray, a fine black teacher from the Urban League down here, and other songs we've done together and other videos. That's on YouTube off the Serve Notice channel. So if you just go there, and she also has a Facebook page, The Obia Woman by Anastasia Amore. You could check out some of her articles when she was student body president, when she was printed in the Challenge newspaper at TCC as the Duchess, and all her work. She also has some work that's I'm going through, and we were going through before she passed. We were working on The Obia Woman too. We were coming up with a tremendous outline for it. Admittedly, now that she's passed, if it does come out, I'm going to have to possibly write most of it around her notes and her outlines. But there's other works that she has done that I might put out some of her stuff posthumously. But the future, only time will tell. We'll see. But thank you.
You're welcome. And where can people buy her art? How is that going to work?
Well, yeah, they'd have to get in contact with me somehow, just like, cause the arts are original works that's here. But, if they get in contact with me through Facebook somehow, or even just, call this, show or whatever, or find a way to contact me on Facebook. And, if it sounds like something you're really interested, we could work a deal with, and yeah, her art is for sale. So, I'll still be putting those up. Thank you. She was a beautiful woman.
Yes, she was. So, Anjanae's going to close us out here because, personally, I can't wait, to dive into the book. First, I got to order it and then dive into the book. But, you were kind enough to post some excerpts from the book on your, posts on Facebook, and I fell in love with those excerpts, so I can hardly wait to actually get the whole book. So thank you, George, for being with us tonight.
Yes. Thank you so much, and thank you for having us, and thank you for having my mom to honor her on this show. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Thank you so much, George. And thank you, everyone that was watching at home. If anything in this conversation intrigued you or, got one of your eyebrows to raise, continue to stay engaged, right? Go on Amazon or inbox IBJ to get that free book for the holy days, as Miss Carol would say. And then also, if you're just unsure, you don't know, do a little bit more research. right? And the facts are all in the pudding. Everything is out there. So thank you again, you guys, for listening. We will be back next week for another story here on the Black Girl Podcast. On that note, you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Go!